Eoch Tanuyap, Quiget Yuans Quiansna. Hi everybody, my name is Quiget Yuans. I'm a member of the Squamish Nation and the Yagalanis clan of the Haida Nation. You're listening to Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. We live, work, play, and broadcast from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations.
You are listening to CFRO Community Radio Station. The upcoming show, Conscious Living Radio, is a program that explores frontiers of consciousness, spirituality, personal growth, emerging paradigms in psychology, health, science, and innovative philosophies that reflect commitment to the advancement of individual, social, and global transformation.
Hello and welcome to Conscious Living, where we air every Wednesday at 6 p.m. in Vancouver on 100.5 CFRO FM. And my name is Marc Caron. I'm really excited today to bring you this special episode because we've got a really auspicious day happening in the world. And, you know, with the world in such an interesting place with the amount of separation, we've got war and unrest coming. This Saturday, September 21st, is the International Day of Peace. And really, what does that mean? I think it means that we need to have more peace in the world, more love, more appreciation, more connection. And today I'm really happy to introduce our guests, who I also consider great friends and work associates, because we're part of this global broadcast that's happening for world peace. So I'd like to introduce our guests, Michael Krauss, the founder of Awaken.global, an online platform for meditation and personal growth and development in the land of peace and spirituality, as well as we have Peter Young, who is the founder of Hubcast International, organization committed to creating communities through content around the globe. Welcome, gentlemen. Great to see you.
Good to see you, Mark.
Good to see you, Mark.
Well, guys, you know, we've got a really powerful 24-hour broadcast coming up, which is, you know, Unite for Peace. But before we get going down that road, maybe, Peter, you can tell us what the vision of Hubcast International is, because I know you've been working on this project for quite some time, and you've got a new network coming and things really, really exciting with Hubcast coming down the pipe. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Well, thanks, Mark. Actually, this International Day of Peace is a very important day for us, and not only from the 24-hour broadcast that's coming up this Saturday on the 21st, but it's actually the launch of our new network at Hubcast. We have been building a system, an ecosystem that really is a game changer when it comes to media and how media could be shared around the world. And we're using the Unite for Peace as our first global event over the next 4 months leading up to our official commercial launch, which is New Year's Eve, 2024-2025. So this is a really exciting time. A little background of Hubcast and the Hubcast Network, which is hubcastnetwork.com, is that this was built actually by request. It was actually requested by one of the Assistant Secretary Generals at the UN to create a citizen TV network that was focused around the SDGs and specifically towards the global goals that all of humanity really face right now. And that's not only peace, but the environment and social harmony and all the factors. And if you haven't heard of the SDGs, check them out. They're an amazing framework that was put forth back in 2012. And the network is built around the principles of how we can come together and create. So a little bit of backstory is I've been in the production industry for about 40 some odd years, and this is actually, I would say, my purpose project. It's a project that we've been working on with our team on this specific initiative of Hubcast for the last 14 years, and it's really coming all to a head with this weekend, and really excited to be showcasing these events around the world on the International Day of Peace. And actually the tagline for Night for Peace is "There's something happening." So this broadcast you're going to find is about all the amazing stuff is happening in the world of peace and activations and people around the world. So excited, to say the least.
That's fantastic. And I know that, you know, as we've all been working on this project, and you guys have been doing a great job spearheading it. Michael, before we kind of take a deeper dive into what International Peace Day means to us and for the planet. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your work and your mission as well, please.
May I start with an expression of gratitude towards you and also Conscious Living Radio, who's been at the forefront of moving consciousness forward, and it's really that we're standing on your shoulders. Conscious Living Radio, as far as I know, 17 years. Maybe you can educate me on that.
Might even be a little longer. I'm not sure. It's been almost 2 decades. That I do know.
But it's really interesting that we've been moving this energy towards peace and consciousness and awareness forward for such a long time. And I feel that we've come to a precipice within our human history right now that really requires us to come together and not just talk about peace, but practice peace. And so all the conversations that you had on your radio show, really grateful for your work. I simply see myself in service to a movement and through the expression of myself, and it really comes from an understanding that we all have to come together and like I said, not just talk about peace but practice peace, and that, in my opinion, is through the expression of kindness and understanding and empathy and compassion and collaboration and cooperation, and starting with ourselves, our families, our communities, and out into the world. And we have an exciting broadcast planned for Saturday, and it starts at 12 a.m. in the morning on Saturday morning and goes until 12 p.m. Saturday.
12 a.m. No, 12 a.m. It's a full 24 hours. Not just till noon. It's going to 12 a.m. again on the 21st, 22nd.
12 a.m. till 12 a.m. So
it's a marathon.
We're going to capture every time zone, right?
And see every time zone. This is the thing that's amazing about the broadcast.
And so what the other thing that really comes through for me and what I'm really excited about is I feel this emerging energy of kindness and unity coming together in all communities that I'm witnessing and that I'm connected to, and there is this energy of upliftment, of uprising is going on despite what mainstream media is telling us. I think and I believe that we can all feel that shift. And so the question really then becomes, how can we all unify and unite and move the pendulum towards peace and compassion and creating harmony on the planet?
Beautifully said, Michael. And first I want to thank you for your kind words about Conscious Living Radio. I know Andrew Resmer, the founder of Conscious Living Radio, it's always been a passion project of his, sharing anything that is about consciousness awareness, from science to meditation to spiritual to just how we interact as people. And Tasha's been the host of the show for a number of years, and she's off doing other things right now. And I'm just honored and humbled to be, a messenger and to be able to speak to people about the work that they're doing around the globe so that we can, enhance consciousness and raise our awareness, because consciousness at the end of the day is awareness and being more aware of what's happening within us, within our friends, within our family, and around the world. And I think, what you both touched on is what's happening around the world. Michael, you said something about mainstream media, and I know that one of the things that the new Hubcast network is designed for is to bring in voices from around the world, so it's not necessarily mainstream. So there's no agenda by deep pockets and big money. It's about getting the word out with, I don't want to say average people, because I believe we're all just average, but from, the citizens of the globe. And we're going to hear from a lot of citizens from around the world in regards to this broadcast of what they're seeing and what they're doing in regards to peace. But let's start, at the beginning in terms of, what does peace mean to both of you guys? So maybe we'll start with you, Peter. What does peace mean, and how do we attain it? What do you think the world needs to do?
Well, that's a question we're going to be asking the world, and I think it's a real broad question because peace can mean so many things to so many people. Some people, peace could be keeping them in shelters, feeding their family. Some people's carrying a gun, keeping harmony, and communities are another way of peace is being expressed. So we're going to really find out what peace means around the world. For me, peace really comes down to human connection, where we can connect on a soul level, a connection where we all are one, we all coexist together in harmony. That's for me, really what peace is built on. As I said, is there's a lot of different opinions of peace, but for me, it's harmony.
Nice. And Michael?
Wow, it's a really loaded question, and I've been asking that question myself and other people for a really, really long time. And every time I get asked that question, it slightly changes. But the basis of it is it's a feeling. It is a feeling of joy. It is a feeling of connection. It is a feeling of aliveness, and it is a feeling of purpose and a feeling of harmony. And a few days ago, we had a conversation around a specific piece of music, Wings of Change from the Scorpions, and there was maybe even a chance that we're going to bring one of the musicians from Scorpion into the broadcast. And I was there in 1989 in Germany when the wall came down, and that song was kind of the anthem of what was happening in that moment. And simply just thinking about it creates goosebumps, because there was this overwhelming sense of unity and brotherhood and sisterhood and just joy. It was pure joy. And if we can take that energy and amplify it into every corner of the world where we can see each other as souls and brothers and sisters on this journey together, and that to me is my version of peace today. And it might modify tomorrow slightly depending on where I am in the moment.
I love what you gentlemen are saying in regards to peace, and I think, Michael, you as well nailed it, that feeling of joy, of harmony, of bliss and really happiness, the absence of stress, of anxiety, of fear, and knowing that we're safe. And this is one thing that I'm really grateful to be Canadian. And one of the reasons for that is, no matter how bad we may think we have it here in Canada, or how great we think we have it, because we are a very free and quite liberal country, even in regards to some of the changes that have happened over time, but we haven't seen war like many people have seen war in other parts of the world. I've never served in the forces or the army or anything from a Canadian side, or anywhere for that matter. And in hearing stories from friends that I have who have immigrated into Canada over the years, the stories that they tell of what it has taken just to get here over the years and where they come from, but what it's like to live in these places of the world that don't have that kind of peace, where, children are running around with rifles, and it's, they're brought up knowing these things. And it's something that I think, in Canada, we're definitely very blessed in that sense. So, that being said, it also comes down, like say, that inner peace for each and every one of us. And this is why I think it's really exciting to see what people are going to say, because from what I understand, we're going to have some streeters come in from different parts of the world speaking to what peace means to them. So let's take this opportunity to dive in more in regards to what people can expect from this 24-hour broadcast in regards to peace. So I know we're bringing in, events from around the world. So whoever wants to field that question to start, take it away, guys. What can we expect on the 21st for 24 hours of peace?
Well, let's define this first. I won't be sitting here. I'm going to be back in a control room, shuffling papers and finding the next segment coming up. But Michael will be here with a couple other hosts over 24 hours. And really, this is not going to be a Zoom room broadcast, as all of us seem to be getting tired of. We're not going to sit in a bunch of tiles talking to people around the world. We're actually going to the locations. So we actually have our anchor events. We've got, of course, there's a lot of celebration happening because there's a lot of anniversaries happening. It's the 40th anniversary of the International Day of Peace, which actually was initiated at the UN and celebrated for the first time in San Francisco. So one of our marquee venues is going to be the Civic Center in downtown San Francisco, a big stage at the base of their Civic Center. Lots of entertainment coming there. Then we're going to be heading over to Hiroshima to celebrate ceremonies over there in the anniversary of the atomic bomb and what has come from there, and the peace and the amazing culture of Japan, as we learn from how they conduct a peaceful life and existence every day. Then we're going to Rwanda and going to talk about what they've done around the world, and just amazing, coming from the genocides in 1994 to one of the safest regions in Africa and most giving, forgiving people that I've ever met. Then we're coming back, and I think we're going to New York, and we're going to be in Times Square, live in Times Square, same place that you see the New Year's Eve ball drop. We're going to be there celebrating with musicians, artists. Ringo Starr is going to do a peace message. So we're going all over the place, and that's just a tip. I think we're going to Denmark to a youth island where they've set up a whole island in their harbor between Copenhagen and where's the other? You're from that region, right?
No,
But we're just
slightly south of
slightly
that region.
But the point is I think, Mark, I just wanted, from an executive producer standpoint, this is a dream. This is an example of the broadcast that we're going to be doing all the time through this network, because we really feel until we come together in community and celebrate things around us, we really don't get a chance to know each other. And in fact, we're even bringing in technologies that we're gonna surprise you guys about, of how to have a conscious communication, how to have a conversation that really, really lifts up you in your own spirit, and how you can share that with everybody around you. So a lot of exciting stuff, and I know I've been talking long, so I'll let you pick up the rest, because there's a lot. This is just a tip of the iceberg. There's a lot going on.
What I feel is that the overarching theme of this broadcast is going to be instilling hope and making the voices of people around the planet heard. There is billions of us who have a vision for a peaceful future, and if you go back into ancient scriptures, it's been foretold by all cultures, whether you call it Shambhala, Nirvana, Golden Age, Heaven on Earth, peace will come. And I believe that there is probably more than 7.5 billion people on the planet who have that dream of peace. And so how can we create something that is going to be interactive, inspiring, and touches people at the soul level? And also, for the first time I would imagine in human history, a broadcast that is going to be interactive between the viewers. And it's a technology that was offered to us for this broadcast, and we're going to have the founder and beauty, or the founder and brain and wisdom behind that technology here in the studio live with us for 24 hours. He's going to introduce it, and it is truly a remarkable technology. And we've been incorporating it into our daily lives now, and we're hoping to make it literally a ritual or a habit. And it is amazing to see the connection that we are building within the team through this technology, because it goes from the I to the we to back to the I, but the I is elevated. And so if the I is elevated, then the we becomes elevated too. So the question is, how can we connect globally? How can we recognize each other as brothers and sisters across the planet. We're all here on one journey on this spaceship called Earth, and there is a lot that we're going through. Everybody is feeling it. We recognize that. And so how can we contribute an interactive, dynamic content from across the planet to demonstrate that I'm not alone, you're not alone, we're not alone, we're in this together.
We're all one.
We're all one.
Again, I think you're sharing what a lot of people are thinking and feeling, and yet I think sometimes, the population is not always so hopeful. These are trying times with everything that we're seeing with the separation in so many different countries, from politics to business to economy to whatever that is. It's not necessarily easier for a lot of people to get by these days. And I think once we recognize and identify and see and experience that, as different as we all are as individuals, that we're all the same. And I think the majority of people, though I think there's a few that seem to like war and unpeace or not peace and mayhem, but I think that the majority of this planet wants peace, wants more love, wants more freedom. And it's, again, the question becomes, how do we do that? And I think this broadcast is a great way to bring people in from around the world so that we can tie into that in a different way. Because I've always thought, we have the wisdom, we have the knowledge, we have the resources and the resourcefulness, that if the leaders of the world actually did what they know and utilized what they have, we can have world peace. It's not impossible. Yet, throughout the history of mankind, there's always been some sort of war. So, I'm curious what you guys think will be the driving force, because you talked about purpose, and I think a life of purpose is a life worth living. And without purpose, we tend to suffer and wander aimlessly. So how do you think that we can do that as individuals?
I think you brought something really, really interesting up, and that is political leadership. And so what I hear within that conversation is that we are looking for leaders that care about us. And I'm saying, well, we're looking for leaders that care about us, but what about us? Do we care about our neighbors? Do we really care about our communities?
Do we care about ourselves?
Do we care about ourselves? And how can we then be in higher levels of kindness and cooperation and specifically random acts of kindness towards one another? And so I believe that the solution is neither going to come from the top down nor from the bottom up. The solution is going to come from both at the same time, and it's going to have to meet itself in the middle. And I think that is a really, really interesting question. And like I said, to me, it's we can put the blame onto our political leadership, but ultimately we have to take responsibility ourselves, and we can change it from the bottom up with the help of the leadership or the top down.
If I could add too, is I think there's a lot of loneliness happening in the world right now. Mm-hmm. Like you said, I just got some stats last night. It's one of the highest suicide rates around the world happening. People are losing hope. People feel that there is just nothing they can do in their lives that are going to change the environments they're in. And I think for us, and I know the underlying mission of Hubcast is to connect. We call connecting communities through content, but it's bringing communities together to unite, because there's so many things that people don't realize that are happening every day around the world, and they just haven't discovered it. So a lot of the things we're going to do in this broadcast is showcase groups of people that are doing amazing work that you can plug into anywhere. And if it's a spiritual direction, or if it's a holistic direction, or you are getting involved with chalk drawing, we've got an amazing group called the Holo Movement that are doing chalk drawing around the world, and communities are coming together to celebrate with children, and we're going to go on those locations, and just, there's so much happening. And that's the tag of the actual broadcast. Unite for Peace, there's something happening, because this broadcast, we want to show people that it's not all doom and gloom. It's all not the negative news media that you see every day that we get caught up and we start to become addicted to it. There is something happening. You just got to go out your door and discover it. So for us, as you can discover a path for yourself, then that will then transcend to about how you take care of yourself and how you want to lead your life every day. Because we feel peace comes from within. If you feel at peace with yourself, that naturally transcends to everybody that around you as well. So this is about a discovery, and 24 hours of discovering that you're not alone. There's a lot of stuff going on.
And you said something there, Peter, that really stuck with me is, showing people what's out there and that there's communities that they can join. So if you're hopeless or you're concerned and you don't know what to do or what you can do in your neighborhood or in other parts to affect other parts of the world, there are groups out there that you can be part of, because we know that community builds strength with our own personal power. We all have a need for connection and love and know that we matter. And these are ways to do that. And I think it's important that, we reach out beyond ourselves when it comes down to, organizing any kind of movement. And in this case, we're talking about a peace movement, which I don't know who doesn't want world peace, of course. And Michael, it's one of the quotes, I know you're the one of the social media managers for Unify, and you share a lot of great quotes. And one of them is and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but,
those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war, Martin Luther King.
Exactly. That's the one, and how do we do that? What do you see for organizing for peace?
Well, it's one of the questions that really came up for me is the other day is, it almost seems that we have to advertise for peace, and yet the polar opposite, the perhaps call it the war machine, and I don't want to even dive into that energy, but they're not advertising for, you don't advertise for war. So I'm looking at the energy of all those massive movements around the planet that are environmentalism, that are peace movements, that are up-leveling consciousness, and all that combined energy versus the war machine, and we still can't get there. And so one of the things that we need to start organizing is based on perhaps the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 SDGs, so the global goals, and then the 5 inner development goals, is we need to start collaborating and cooperating on a radical level, starting with our local communities and then building it outwards. And so Awaken.Global is a platform where you can add your peace development goal into a platform. You can add your vision of peace into this platform. And it's really about creating understanding and around what is your vision for peace and what do you feel called. We all feel called to something. And I believe what we also have to start to understand is that we can learn from every single being. There isn't a single being on the planet that I can't learn from. And so if I'm going to approach another human being on a soul level and say, hey brother, hey sister, I know this is a lot. What are you dealing with? What is truly going on for you? And connect on that level, I've always experienced a heart opening, and I think that is what is required of us right now.
Brilliant. And in saying that, it what comes up again for me is, that so many of us don't have the opportunity to, maybe speak freely or openly of what we're feeling, what we're going through. We keep it to ourselves. We keep it all suppressed. We've kind of lost our authenticity because we're scared to say the wrong thing to whoever we may be speaking to. And I think, one of the things is for me is, being curious to what people are saying and listening, actually actively listening to what people are going through, because I know that when people have the opportunity to share, it's kind of like that weight lifts off your shoulders. You have a different feeling. It's like, I finally got to speak that without judgment, without criticism, without being told you're wrong. And sometimes I feel we just need to be heard.
Absolutely. There's as Michael was saying, there's a lot of interactivity that's happening. We're not only going around the world, but we're going to get offer people a chance to speak themselves. So there'll be parts of the broadcast that we're going to set up a QR code, and you're going to come right into the broadcast globally. So you're going to have your moment we're going to ask some questions. We're going to frame it, but we're going to ask people, on the street, what do you feel, and how do you feel, and how do you think we can achieve peace? And as I say, it's going to be a really amazing, and this is from not only just people in North America, but around the world, and it'll be really interesting to see what people say. And I feel, lifting up the voices of the underbanked, underserved, the regions of the world that don't have a voice in the main global media. This is a show that a network won't take on. When you think of it, a Peace Day event is not lucrative enough for a major network to carry it. Maybe New Year's Eve, maybe there's been a disaster in the world and they're going to raise money, very good, and the whole bit. But Peace Day, believe it or not, is not a big global media. It's local media, but it's not someone where a group would take this to a 24-hour marathon broadcast like we are. So we are filling the gaps, and we are creating spaces where people can truly come together and unite. And this is just the first of many that that we're announcing. So stay tuned. It's pretty amazing, the people that have come to us to do these amazing events, and we just can't wait to get going.
Well, Peter, you brought something up that actually tied together something that Michael was saying about advertising for peace that got me thinking. And, we have to make peace more profitable than war, and which is one of the reasons why I think when you talk mainstream media and those kind of news outlets, there's not the same kind of profitability and monetization to peace. And I think we need to turn that around. And what that looks like and how do we do that? I'm not sure what that looks like yet. I do believe that what's happening, because there's something happening, that this is part of that process to, like you say, give the underserved and the communities that are suppressed in that sense, to be able to give them a voice. And I think that that's really important. So, as we move forward, any ideas of how we can, as Michael, we're not going to talk about the war machine, though we know it's profitable. How do we make peace profitable and sustainable? Because I believe it's got our God-given right as we land here in this planet, in this meat suit, having our spiritual human experience. How do we make that sustainable so that everybody gets fed, clothed, sheltered, and it's not a strain on society? It's just part of life.
We're actually, one of the components within the broadcast might actually speak into a potential like that. And it is about turning the currency of the heart into a fiat currency. And so how can we transition? How can we recognize random acts of kindness and compassion as a currency? We've defined our currency as fiat and dollars and whatever currency you're living in or whatever country you're living in. But I think a far more powerful currency is collaboration and random acts of kindness. And how can we share with our neighbors? And within that space is so much possible, and it has the potential to be so powerful. And what are the applications actually to turn random acts of kindness into and love currency? How can we co-create that around the planet? And I know that some countries, they measure their GDP, but they also measure the wellness factor of that country, and so there has to be a measurable, realistic, and applicable approach to it, and it might require collaboration of some brilliant minds and ideas and technologies to bring this all together. And I know we're going to feature one of those groups in our broadcast, and they're at the beginning stages of bringing this forward. And so, again, we need collaboration. We need people to say, okay, well, this sounds great. Let me join in with, I have resources to put in there. I have technology to put in there. I have human resources to put in there. I have ideas. I have creativity to put in there. And how can we create that currency of love and the currency of the heart really around the planet?
Yeah, I've had a chance to travel in the world a lot in the last couple of years, and it's amazing. This practice actually happens right now. You get into small communities, and homelessness is zero. Everybody is fed, and it's done at the community level, right? Because the communities are so small that there might be an individual that maybe partakes a bit more, too much on the alcohol, but they take care of him when he's down and he's slunched over on the street. Or there might be someone who lost their home and their family, but they're taken into this other family because they're living in community. And I think that is where we've lost it when it comes around the world. We become so large and everybody is siloed, but we're losing the definition of what community means. Community means to live in commune, to live together, to take care of each other, to support one another. And I think that's some of the foundations that we need to show is we need to build a community that we co-create together, that we can then deal with some of the biggest challenges. That's why Hubcast used the framework of the 17 SDGs, because it's for the very first time in global history that all nation states at the UN agreed on these 17 principles of framework to get towards a better humanity. When they added through a group that brought into the inner development goals, it's like the mortar in between all the bricks, right? You think all the 17, but the inner development goals is all the stuff that gets us ready to work together. And I think that's the real balance that has to take place. It's not only just knowing these challenges around the world, but how do we approach them? How do we address them? How do we come to a conclusion of the best practices to achieve them? And I think this is the work that needs to be done over the next short while to get to that space where we all are living in a community, that all of us take care of one another, and we all are making sure that no one's homeless. And it's because it's a vested interest in our community, and we want the best community for us. So this is the work that needs to work, but it comes through communicating, knowing your neighbor, being empathetic. Forgiveness is a big, big factor that needs to happen around the world. We have so much history in war. We have to learn to forgive. And that's one really important section that I can't wait to show everybody is what's happened in Rwanda and how they created forgiveness and what they're doing to continue to forgive. These are the things we need to move past, and that's what this broadcast is about, is identifying, yes, there is a lot of things that happen in the day-to-day lives, both right down to the bully down the street, but if we can't learn how to forgive and move past, we're going to be stuck in this cycle indefinitely.
Yeah, completely agree. And the power of community has been proven time and time again, throughout addiction and some of the experiments that they found or that they've done in, bringing people together and supporting each other versus being isolated and being made wrong. We see it throughout the history of the indigenous communities around the world. where throughout history, in the past, they had a very, very different way of, taking care of each other than, the colonial aspect of things. It's all competition and, everything's striving to, accumulate stuff and things. And it's about bringing us all together now in a way that is not about separation. And we went through a couple of years of some pretty serious separation and isolation that a lot of people have struggled through. And I think it's really important that, these conversations and the active listening, happens even more and on a global scale. And with that being said, let's circle back and talk a little bit about the SDGs, because what's interesting is how so many people have no idea what they are. And they are the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which, regardless what you think about the UN, these goals are certainly profound and really basic when you think about it. When you think about zero poverty, you think about health and wellness, you think about the environmental impacts on the planet, because, if we're going to kill this planet, what does peace matter in that sense? Yet we need the whole balance, because it's an ecosystem. When something's out of balance, it affects everything. And that goes with our planet as well. So maybe if you guys want to touch on that for a little bit.
I think the reason why I would say not a lot of people know about the SDGs is because perhaps it's not sexy. It's not something that is being talked about in mainstream television. It's also not something that is being talked about in social media. And I've never not once did I come across a post that was directly relating to the SDGs. So there is an educational process needed right now, and a level of awareness needed for people to actually recognize what it is. And I believe, like Peter said, it was the first time in human history that all nation states agreed to break the world apart into 7 different areas of that need improvement. And ultimately, when we get to those improvements in those 17 areas, we will find ourselves in a peaceful situation. If we can improve life above land and life under the sea, and education and healthcare and equality, if all of those are going to be improved, then ultimately we're going to have peace. And so what are where's the calling of the individual, and what subject are they most relating to, and how can they serve within those subjects? And I see also that within the United Nations, I think the United Nations has gotten a little bit of a unfavorable flavor, if I can say it that way, especially now with the Israel and Palestine situation, and the vetoing within the United Nations, and no ceasefire, and they weren't established to actually have any executive power. They were there to come together to communicate and to find solutions. And yet, I also know that deep within the UN is a tremendous, beautiful conversation going on, and that is around the inner development goal goals. And as Peter said, it's the mortar in between the bricks. It is, what are our values? How can we come from a level of unity consciousness, recognizing and understanding that we're all connected, and that how it's expressed in First Nations tradition, the hurt of one is the hurt of all, and the healing of one is the healing of all. And coming from that understanding that we're all one, maybe that is a way of us recognizing the importance to come together. And
I think that's nails it in so many ways. because it gets me thinking just in the sense that, if you don't know the SDGs, go take a look into them. They're certainly profound, and we need to act as a totality. But when you talk about the inner development goals and personal growth, I think it's really important because it starts with us. We can't change what we don't acknowledge. It's that simple. And, Michael, when you talk about, shifting and changing our values in different ways, and being aware, it's what I've found in the personal development, personal growth world is how many of us don't even know what we really value. We never chose it consciously. We don't know what we believe, or we just believe things because it's been what's told to us. So I think that there's a huge opportunity for us as individuals to do that deep dive within ourselves so we can see, if you don't see yourself as part of the problem, you'll never see yourself as part of the solution, is a great quote I've always loved. And it starts somewhere. But so many of us have not chosen our values consciously, our beliefs consciously. It's all been programmed and ingrained into us throughout society, culture, religion, our upbringing, our families, whatever that is. And I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm saying that when we choose consciously what's most important, you take it right back to the golden rule, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. And even more powerful than that is when you get to know people and find out what they value and what's important to them, you treat them as they'd like to be treated, which gives it even more power in terms of creating the relationships, because we're not imposing our beliefs and values on other people, though we're having open, honest conversations and dialogue, even if we can simply agree to disagree, though we're here to understand other people's points of view. I think is really an important part of that inner work.
Yeah, and if you talk about values, I think the underlying energy that is needed behind that is awareness. Like you have to become situationally aware of what is actually going on around you. And you can have all the values in the world, but if you're not living in the present moment, and if you can't recognize what is needed in the present moment in your immediate area, all the values are useless. I'm not saying useless, but useless in a way, because it comes from a theoretical thinking and not from a practical approach. It's the same when I think we might have had that conversation before. If you open up a door for somebody, if you see somebody, first of all, you have to recognize that somebody is there. Then you have to recognize that somebody is actually walking your way or towards that door. Then you have to recognize, well, is that person wanting to go through the door? Then you have to decide, am I going to stand outside and open up the door, or am I going to go inside and open up the door? And what is then that exchange of gratitude that is going to be possible? What is that going to be? So there is moment after moment after moment the requirement to be fully present in the moment and be aware of the situation around you, and share that with a smile and gratitude with other people is one of the most powerful things.
It's addictive.
It is, actually.
Yeah. It needs you.
Yeah, hey, I agree with you there, Peter. I didn't mean to interrupt, but, go help someone and do something for,
You feel good.
From your heart without any expectation of any return, because it's about being in service, and you'll get addicted to that. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, guys, we got to wrap up here pretty quick. We're running out of time. I just wanted to really say thank you for the work you're doing, your persistence, your perseverance, your passion and drive for what's being created is really, an exciting time. And Peter, I want to thank you for all your hard work in regards to the creation of this new Hubcast network. Conscious Living is honored to be there with the Conscious Living TV channel, which we're starting to create and populate get going to support the work that you're doing from the Hubcast Network. And of course, Michael, it's always a pleasure to support anything you do in the world of peace and love and creating a better everyday life for people around the globe. So a couple of last words, basically what peace means to you and what you'd like to see moving forward. And then we're going to wrap up and get going.
Well, again, I just want to first acknowledge you, Mark, first of all, as people have to understand, Mark is very active behind the scenes in Hubcast. And thank you for the time for allowing us to share this really important event. But you'll be right there side by side with us 24/7, going through this next 3 days of preparation and then right into the broadcast. For me, you represent peace. You represent someone that works for better understanding, finding a path, connecting people together. Really, we all can represent peace in ourselves. And so for me, I recognize, Mark, you as peace. And everybody remember the two websites, uniteforpeace.live. That's where you'll find everything that's going on coming up on that broadcast, and hubcastnetwork.com. You'll get to the same place through the both, but check it out. It's about building a global community. The more people that attend, and maybe if you could, I'll let you share as the formula that we've been working on, right? It's a real simple one.
Well, if there is one person listening to this show here right now, and if that one person is going to share it with one other person, and that one other person is going to then also share it with one other person, within 30 days we would reach the tipping point. And so it is, how can we excuse me, how can we get a message of peace out there that is based on human connection and the inspiration from one person to the next to take action towards peace? And one of the other things that we're going to be featuring is a global minute of silence. And so what we want to inspire people, not just on Peace Day, but also moving forward, is take a break once a day. Rest, go into a state of stillness for a minute and really reflect on the day and see where you would have had where you're grateful for, and or where perhaps you would have had a greater chance to express more kindness and gratitude and compassion towards another being. And I believe that is one of the key elements that we've forgotten in our society. We're all running on overwhelm, so to speak, and we don't know how to rest anymore.
Yeah, thank you for that, Michael. And I think one thing to always remember is it comes with the breath. It's to take those deep, diaphragmatic, yogic type breaths and take that time to relax and to sit in silence, in nature if possible, and really connect with yourself, because that's where peace starts. It starts from within. So, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day as we get moving forward to the International Day of Peace and the 24-hour global broadcast on the Hubcast Network. We're really looking forward to that. My name is Marc Caron. You've been listening to 100.5 CFRO in Vancouver. Thank you very much, everyone, and every day and always, take care of each other. Thank you.
For free show downloads, additional information about our guests and topics, or details about upcoming programs, check us out at consciousliving.radio.org.